we'll give you credit for 6:30.
I know, too, you feel a little bit like you're talking to an empty room.
Yeah, I agree.
So when people are mad at you, this is not a good room.
It's fine.
We had plenty of that for a while
Yeah.
before. Yeah, I'm good. I actually prefer this anyway.
We're live.
Yeah, this is good. I'll just use this. So,
Yeah, well, I don't know why. Maybe,
Good evening. Thank you for all in attendance and watching online. Tonight what is today? October 18th. This time we'll call the Board of Education meeting to order.
Okay, roll call. Mrs. Eicholtz?
here.
Mr. Marks?
Here.
Mrs. Singh?
Here.
Mr. Summerall?
Here.
Mr. Tullis?
Here. At this point, is there a motion to adopt the regular meeting agenda and addendum?
So moved.
All in favor, or second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
At this point, we will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just a comment, Mr. Tullis, before we move into the public commentary piece on the agenda. Noting that there is no executive agenda tonight, we're going to move right into the business portion of the agenda. Thank you. Mr. Davis, any public commentary today?
I've gotten none.
Okay. On to recognition, correspondence, and announcements. Mr. Konecki.
Welcome, board members and everybody. We have a guest here with us this evening who's going to take over this portion of the announcements and recognition and correspondence because a lot of it has to do with Indian Hill High School tonight. So welcome, Mr. Damadeo. Thanks for coming, and really excited to hear your comments tonight. You have a lot of amazing things to share, and I just want to thank you before we get started here with the board. #1 high school in the state of Ohio, #1 principal in our book. You work very hard with your team and your staff. One of them I see here in the audience tonight, Julie. You guys are doing amazing things at the high school. We can't wait to hear a little bit about it tonight.
Well, so again, I just want to thank you guys all for just the opportunity to come and boast about our kids. We don't often get a chance to kind of let some of these recognitions and celebrations sink in. And it's an amazing accomplishment each and every day. I do stand in awe of what our staff and our students do each and every day. And for sure, to start off the day and highlight the fact that Indian Hill High School was once again, for the third year in a row, for the fifth time in 8 years, ranked as the #1 high school in the state of Ohio. You know, when I shared it with the staff, I said, just let it sink in, because sometimes we don't. We just bypass it, we're proud, and then we move on to the next thing, which is also one of the things that makes this place so great. But I kind of made them like, just let it sink in. 608 schools through the last 2 years of all of the challenges, and still back to back to back, #1 school in the state of Ohio. That is a combined effort of everybody involved. I have a small part of it. I'm just happy to be part of that ship and help steer it as best as I can. We have a ton of things going on and a lot of things to recognize, so if you don't mind, I know Kirk said I had 30 minutes, so I'll try to wrap that up within 30. I'm just kidding. So as you've seen and kind of following the news, some of the things I want to highlight, 2 weeks ago, we got a chance to recognize and celebrate our 19 National Merit semifinalists and commended students. We had an opportunity to kind of, again, highlight and recognize them at Friday's game, and we're going to have a celebration luncheon for those folks. I'd love to read their names just so they know that we continue to talk about them and celebrate their effort. We had 7 National Merit semifinalist students. Those students are Connor Kaufman, Elizabeth Consolino, Victoria Gonzalez, Vinya Ivatori, Joseph Kane, Neil Oke, and Pranav Rastogi. We have 12 commended students. Those were Natalia Bayer, Katie Yanis-Deal, Giannis Espagel, John Higgins, Vinay Ivatori, they are sisters, Brian Gia, Preston Marks, Joy An, Marco Petrovic, Harishi Rawat, Lily Shepard, and Kaya Wu. And this is a competition. It's kind of an annual recognition of over 60,000 kids that take this exam and achieve this level of recognition. And for the semifinalists, there are also millions of dollars of scholarship money waiting for them if, in fact, they go and pursue it. And most of our kids go ahead, continue, and those semifinalists, almost 97% of the time, become finalists in that part of that pool. So again, something that for sure that they have to continue to raise their heads for and be very proud of. On the artistic side, not only did we have Midsummer's Night's Dream this past weekend and close out that amazing show, and all of the efforts for that, but we had 11 Indian Hill High School student artists who were selected to perform in the Cincinnati Symphony Youth Orchestra. 5 were part of the CSYO Philharmonic. That's Hollis Chan, Isaac Scott, Alex Tran, Claren Wang, and Grace Yu. And we had 6 students who were selected through a rigorous audition process for the Cincinnati Symphony Youth Orchestra concert. That was Ishan Gandhi, Josh Nehans, Auden Rinaldi, Aaron Scott, Arjun Verma, and Vivian Zhu. So again, a tremendous opportunity. Again, the fact that they're able to still achieve that level of success in the classroom, on the field, on the stage, it's awe-inspiring. I'll say a quick thing just about homecoming week. We had a great week all around. Spirit Week, the parade, the pep rallies from K through 12, the game, kind of the level of spirit that is back, the dance. I'm more proud of the fact that not only did these events occur, but we challenged our students to take a leadership role in bringing back some of the spirit that we thought we lost, and they continue to knock it out of the park each and every event that comes up. On that note, and in continuation of that, one thing I'd love to highlight is Junior Day. So Junior Day, we transitioned from a previous platform where our junior class would go to Camp Kern, and they would do team bonding activities and really just have a great day to run around and connect. And we love that. But one of the things we've been talking a lot about is how do we give back? If one of our pillars is service, when do we create opportunities to give back to the community? And so Junior Day was kind of remodified, where over 130 of the juniors went out to 6 nonprofits across the city and gave half a day of community service back. The juniors did not know where they were going in the morning, so we asked them to dress in layers. They got on the bus, then they knew these are the locations you're going to go. And then they spent the second half of that day at 50 West really just connecting, having fun, and reflecting on the experience. And to hear the stories of kids who had the opportunity to give back, but more importantly, the number of students who said, it was such a cool experience, I want to go back. It was fantastic. And that's one of the things that we want to continue to build on. So that Junior Day will now serve as the model for what's coming up, which is our Senior Service Day is coming up, and our Sophomore Service Day we're going to try to build in the third quarter, and then our Freshman Service Day, which we're going to build in the fourth quarter, and try to bring some of these really amazing culminating experiences to our kids. Some other outstanding awards, senior Joseph Kane, who you've seen on stage, I just mentioned as a National Merit semifinalist, was also recently honored with the Outstanding Youth in Philanthropy Award. That award was given to him and sponsored by the Association of Fundraising Professionals in the Greater Cincinnati chapter. And if you don't know Joseph Kane, before he graduates, get a chance to just talk to him. He's an amazing young man, just a leader all around. Another young lady I'd like to highlight is sophomore Jolene Gennady, who you may not know a whole lot about, but whatever this young lady starts to do or build as an entrepreneur, invest in. Over the summer, she got a tidbit from a teacher, Mrs. Schonauer, said, hey, do you want to go to business camp over the summer? She said, sure, why not? And so she paired up with, again, about 100 kids across the city. They were put into random teams, and her team then had an opportunity to build a business idea, pitch it to small businesses here in the city in a competitive, almost like Shark Tank experience. Her team won second place. They received a check for $3,000. The students were allowed to do whatever they want with that money. But Jolene said, how do I take it and build and do something continuing and build it forward? So the other kids have taken it in spring break and we actually hooked her back up with a company downtown, a partner called Main Street Ventures, who are now taking Jolene under her wing for whatever is next. So again, when we think about our strategic plan, what do we want for our kids in the future, culminating experiences in student agency, I just wanted to take a minute and tell that story. On that same vein, we think about future planning and what are the visions for Indian Hill and the experience. Kind of two areas I want to celebrate tonight, and one is student agency. We are currently piloting in-house the very first Student Leadership Excellent cohort. And so this is in collaboration with a partner of Frank's Research LLC, and it is a credentialed leadership program for students. Not only does it kind of assist them in a graduation pathway, but more importantly, it's about teaching students how to be leaders, not just electing them to be leaders. And one of the really cool things about this is over the summer, 8 of our district employees went through the same certification process. And then myself and another staff member became certified trainers. So myself and another staff member, Nate Iger, Tuesdays, like today, we actually get to go into our leadership class, and we get to teach this program to those seniors who are currently in leadership. So today, just so you know, like today's conversation was about inspiring a shared vision and clarifying your values. And to hear the insights of students who, when you ask about leadership, the things they come up with, their thoughts when they think about themselves as leaders and future planning and what does it mean, what is their why, I'll be honest, I get goosebumps and I can be in that class all day long. So again, something to celebrate. To continue on, again, on that same vein, we also created this year the very first Staff Leadership Council. And that is because last year we piloted the first high school student leadership team. We had about 35 kids that were nominated by their teachers, and we brought them together once a month for about four and a half to 5 months. And really, we just asked the kids to give us feedback on your student experience. And we talked, a lot of our themes were celebrations, recognitions, and areas of improvement. And these students were from all over, 9 through 12, students that you know, students that you may not know. It wasn't simply about electing students that always have an opportunity, but electing those that we knew maybe they just needed someone to tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, would you like to be part of this work? And so what we did with that is we took the feedback from the students, and in the late spring and early summer, when we had our building leaderships back, we had them meet and talk and share about all the things that they talked about. And some of the ideas that they have, not only did you see in our senior homecoming week, but it also has come up in other plans and clubs. So they made an immediate impact. The Staff Leadership Council is about building iteration 2.0 of that and really taking that idea. Right now, we have about 82 students who've been nominated for that group. And in about 2 weeks, the council is going to get back into it. We're going to talk about how we formally invite them into that space, make it a great experience, bring some outside leadership experiences for them to kind of, again, cultivate that. And last, because I know my 30 minutes is coming up, when we think about strategic plan, one of the things that is near and dear to my heart, and I can't tell you how excited I get about talking about this, and that is in the vein of cultivating career pathways and celebrating and highlighting our current fledgling Indian Hill Experientships program. You've read about it. We have some folks in this room that have been part of that, but last year when we thought about let's launch this, we had 5 students and about a dozen community partners who said, hey, we're interested and we'd like to hear it. Well, we just did the second cohort of applications. We have 40 students right now and who are all in, who are going through modulars about learning success skills, partnering with some of our folks in the PTO Foundation, teaching our students how to write resumes, interview skills, what it means to be on time, what it means to be in a professional place, and developing all these success skills before we then put them out and partner with some folks in the community. And we have over 42 partners right now who have said, we're in. Some are active, some are just waiting. Some have said, hey, I don't know what we can do, or we just want to be part of this and let us know. The last 2 days, I connect with 4 new business partners. One was Beacon, and the reason why I highlight Beacon is not only are we working on bringing our kids to them, but we're also partnering and creating some what we like to call lunch and learn experiences for our kids. We're going to have some outside individuals and community partners and professionals come in and do kind of what we do with staff, 30-minute, 45-minute lunch learn opportunities. The first 2 right now, I'm working with Beacon and Dr. Kremchek. He's going to come in and talk about all the facets of what he does, everything from physical therapy, physician assistantships, med tech, athletic training, to, again, light a spark. And then where in the experiential program will they connect? And the other really cool one I want to highlight is we're connecting with the Indian Hill Fire and Police Department, who are currently piloting drone technology to assess to assess, understand, and extinguish fires. So talking about, the future of even things like how to fight fires and keep people safe and the technology that's assisting them in that process, it's pretty exciting. So they're going to come in as well and do a presentation for our staff, and we'll kind of see. So it connects our STEM advisory goals, our career pathways, and our student agency possibilities. So that's just a few things that are going on. The cool thing also about that program is 9 through 12. It's for every single student to have an opportunity to have a real-world experience that's going to transcend the classroom. And that, for me, myself, and the team that's building that, that's what we hope the future of learning is going to be here in Indian Hill High School. So a lot to celebrate. Thank you for giving me a couple of seconds to just boast about just a few of the things going on.
Mr. Damadeo, how many students are involved in experiences this year?
So we have 40 right now. Total since the beginning that have participated is roughly 51. Out of the original 5 and 17, 11 of those 17 in the summer were connected. And out of those 11, we actually have 4 or 5 students that have said, well, what's next? Can I do this again? And the answer is, yeah, why would we ever say no? Absolutely.
So board members, I think it's important to know outside of the day-to-day where Mr. Damadeo and his team are cultivating these partnerships, and 42 partners for any school district of any size is incredible in one school year and growing. Mr. Damadeo has been working directly with Hamilton County, with ODE, with some of our other partners in the area. He's taken students to Rotary. He's become engaged with the chamber. Their team is exploring things that really you've been working on for years. And I think it's a credit when we talk about 5 of the last 8 years, this school has been ranked number 1. All the research in education shows us that the teacher is the most important person for any student in a school. And the research also shows us that the second most important person is the head principal. So kudos for all the work you're doing. I want to remind everybody as well of the other work that was done before we got to this point this school year that I think we kind of glossed over last spring as we were kind of getting out of some of our pandemic operations. The high school added a lot of new courses last year that Jeff and the team worked on. Signature seminar, screenwriting for film and television, unified physical education, computer apps and digital technology, community-based work instruction programs, innovation lab time, blended learning for health, multivariable calculus. During a time when most people were just trying to be open, this faculty and staff was leading the way. And Jeff was also a part of the steering committee with the IH Promise team, and much of the language that you heard again tonight is embedded in our strategic plan. And I think it's because our high school leader and faculty were a part of that process. So really appreciate the work that you're doing. I don't know about you, but I'm blown away about what's going on in our high school. And thank you. And please tell your entire faculty and staff, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for letting me speak.
I'd just like to commend you on all your enthusiasm and all your hard work. And if you'd give a big thank you to your team, we appreciate all you do, and we do not take it for granted. So thank you very, very much for everything, and it's a lot of exciting news.
It is, thank you.
I'd like to echo that. One of the first times, Jeff, that we met, you took me on a tour of the building and spent about an hour and a half together, and I walked out here thinking, God, if I had that much passion for my job that you have for yours, it would be a whole different animal. What we're doing here is remarkable. It's what makes being on the board so much fun, seeing this. We're lucky to have you and your team and the passion for all this. And God, it sounds like we're talking about a college at times with the programs that are happening for the real world experiences. And that's going to make a difference in these kids' lives down the road. So thank you to your team, the whole group.
Well, I appreciate it. And again, I've said this before, this leadership team has always challenged me to think beyond tomorrow. And I mean tomorrow as in like literally tomorrow. And one of the things I love about Indian Hill is we're never complacent with today. It is truly forward-looking, future-driven all of the time. They make me better. They push me into places I don't think I've ever been able to think of myself as. And again, yeah, it's an awesome ride. I'm so proud of our kids. I'm so proud of our staff and the things that they've done. So thank you again. Thank you for always supporting what we do, even if it's unorthodox and a bit crazy.
Before we let you go, I just want to say, you are one of the best things that has happened for the Indian Hill High School. Like, I have been here for 14 years, and I can say that you had been one of the best high school head principal that I have seen in my kids' life.
Oh, thank you.
No, you bring that positive energy and the way you connect with your students. It is just remarkable to see how you connect with them and how much they trust you and how much they listen to you. So,
Most of the time.
no,
Most of the time.
yeah, most of the time. But I think the positive energy that you bring into this building is what is bringing the change. So I think kudos to you and your team. I think our teachers are amazing. And thank you for all that hard work that you guys are doing to make a huge difference in these kids' life. Thank you.
It's our pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Damadeo. Let's keep the celebrations going for a minute. Next, board members, I'd like to take a moment to celebrate another Ohio Auditor of State Award for our treasurer and school district on behalf of the hard work of Mr. McDavis. I know that you all don't get to see, and our public does not get to see the work that goes on sometimes behind the scenes with Mick and his staff. And I know that Mick would be the first to credit his staff members and his teammates as well. However, he's got a run of getting these audits clean and winning this award every year. He is a rock star treasurer and deserves some accolades. So congratulations and thank you, Mick, for your hard work.
And I'd like to echo that. The importance of proper reporting to our taxpayers is, it can't be understated. And when we ask them to trust us with the bond levy, with other resources they give us, if we're not being truthful and accurate with them, then we're not going to earn their trust. So thank you.
A big round of applause.
Well, I think it's important to, we have so much to recognize, but, there's a true cost to the work that you do, right? So if we think back to the money that we borrow and when we need to borrow money and the fact that we have that AAA rating, right? A lot of that has to do with your stewardship and leadership. So we really appreciate it, Mr. Davis.
And I think I'm the only board member that remembers what it was like before you were here. And so I think it's important for everyone to know that, Mick didn't walk into a situation that was, perfect and he could just take off running. He really had to rebuild. And the transformation was quick and it was amazing, and you've kept it, going forward ever since. So it's been really fun to watch that.
Thank you and congratulations, Mick. I can tell you, board members, I've never worked with a treasurer who's been more aligned to the rest of the team on doing what's best for kids and making sure that our vision and missions are supported, and always strategically talking to the team about how to use our resources to the best of our ability for students and staff. So it's fun to do, to work with Mick every day. Next up, Mr. Nichols just going to give us some quick operational updates.
Well, because you're doing a great job, Mick, I'll tell you how we're spending your money. So here we go. We've got a lot of good things happening on campus. It's really exciting. It's probably too dark now to see, but we're pouring a parking lot over there, which will be the final parking lot for our middle school. It starts to give you an idea of kind of just how far back the building will sit in comparison to the old building. It really lines up very nicely and truly becomes a nice campus here. So it is one of the first pieces we finally get to see. If you look at the building structure, you're seeing a lot of steel go up right now. Really the frame of the building, our new connector is out there. We'll start to see that get enclosed over the next few weeks. And so that's really exciting because we'll be able to get to see that take shape, and that main grand entrance that will then lead you into the auditorium and our athletic complex in there. So those things are all happening. You might notice that we've got a little extra material behind us. I've gotten a few questions about the practice football field out here. When we have the opportunity to take advantage of getting some materials and bringing them on campus, we're storing them here where we can. This is a lot of roofing materials, I believe, and so it really helps us to have that on site and not say, well, actually, we can't take it yet, we're not ready. We're able to do that, which then we can use it right when we're ready for it. So that's why that's there right now. And then if we look over at the elementary, if you haven't been over there, I would encourage you to walk over there and come and see what's going on behind. But really the walls of the gym and the core arts building are there. The foundation has been poured, and so we're really starting to see that building take shape. You really get a sense of how grand that's going to be. So we're excited about that. They were doing a little bit of work, just a little bit on the interior hallway in the back of the building, and that's almost complete. Our elementary staff and students have been incredible over there. They've been working around just a little bit of construction as we tie the existing building into potentially the new building, and being able to do that work now keeps us on schedule. So we appreciate their flexibility as we work through that. And then if we look at the primary, I encourage you also to drive by over there and take a look at their front entrance. It already is looking dramatically different. They've finished a lot of the earthwork out in front, so they're ready to pour the pad for the new section that will go on the front. If you were to go inside, you would see the multi-purpose room has the slab poured now, and so that, you'll remember there were some tiered steps. We had some accessibility issues. Those will no longer be an issue, as that will be one level. So we're excited to see that coming on, and then they're going to start even laying out walls here over the coming weeks as they really put together the office and that whole front area, and improving our safety and security there. So we have a lot of great things happening on campus. We've had great weather, and so we're taking full advantage of that, but just a lot of great progress and more to come here.
Mr. Nichols, one quick question for you. I'm not sure if it's in the scope right now, but if not, it's something we might consider looking into is at the primary building where the buses come in. It seems like there's been for a long time some drainage issues, and there's like a dip down. So as we think about sort of scoping asphalt and stuff, I don't know if that's something we could look at, but
It is absolutely something we're looking at. In
Okay, I
fact,
figured it
if
probably
you
was.
drove by last week, you might have seen Ken Stegman down in that hole,
Was he?
working
Okay.
on that drainage. So it is something we're trying to address right now. But it's, yes, it's something that we're working on because that pond's over there when we get a good rain. Yeah.
I would just, go ahead.
I was gonna say, just a note for Jim and Chris, since you're here, we hear a lot from school community members, and I've not heard one complaint yet about disruptions from construction during the school day. I was able to navigate both the primary school and the elementary school drop-off successfully, which is saying something. So kudos to your teams for keeping those projects separate and not distracting. And, you know, my kids who complain about everything haven't complained about hearing hammers, flying around during the day. So congrats for that effort, 'cause that's a big part of this.
I definitely compliment Skanska and the team over there. They do a great job of even working with the village and reaching out to them. If they think there's going to be any disruption, then they can inform the neighbors, and we can have some conversations prior to any of those things happening. We are neighbors here, so we want to be good neighbors with all of the surrounding homes. So they've done a great job working with them.
I'd like to thank all of our partners in the village as well. We had a community village meeting last week, and everybody was very positive about our project team and working with them and the responsiveness to the village from our project team. I really appreciated hearing that feedback from the rest of our community stakeholder partners. And also just a reminder to anybody who listens to the meeting that it is getting darker earlier. There is a lot of construction going on that is of interest now, as people are seeing the outside of the primary school, and through the leaves, they can start to see the elementary wing. When they're driving on Drake Road, we need people to be really careful, because people want to look. They're interested in looking, and then that's also becomes a concern at times. So the traffic, knock on wood, we've been very fortunate with safety. We want that to continue, and Skanska is always there to help as well with traffic during the school day. But really, it's 24/7. We need people to be paying attention, because they're starting to see the building projects on the outside, and they're going to see it throughout the winter and next spring. If we can move on to the superintendent's report.
Fire away.
First thing up tonight is the second reading of the calendar. Board members just want to make sure that we're clear on all of the details for that. So again, I've asked Jim and Dr. Stewart to maybe just provide a high-level overview of that rationale again on the school calendar for next school year.
Well, again, we were able to work with Skanska. Obviously, construction is at the forefront of our mind, and making sure the areas that we're going to be working on over the summer are ready in the fall. And so we've done some things to prepare. There's a couple of areas that we want to get started on just a little bit early, especially over at the primary. Their cafeteria is getting a full renovation. It's going to be an amazing space when we get done, but we're going to work around that a little bit so they can start to clear that space out and we can be ready by the time school starts. So we've vetted that start date with them. It's about a week later than we normally do, but it keeps us pretty much on schedule to have a lot of the traditional breaks that we have through the year. We know that's important to our families and our community, that we have some of those in place. And so I don't think you're seeing a huge impact on our traditional calendar there. So we're able to preserve that. We talk with our staff. We consider how many days of the staff are here, as well as how many hours our students are here. There's some requirements. We exceed those requirements. We want to build in some additional hours in case there could be a snow day or occasionally there's a power outage or something like that. We want to have some days in reserve. So through this calendar, we're really able to accomplish all that.
Just a comment and a question, just it struck me when I first looked at it. It's obviously the same number of, I think, same number of overall days, same number of staff days. Just to make sure, because of the difference in the winter break with not having the week off before Christmas, where we typically do, make sure we message that out to people who may not be looking at the website that frequently. The rationale, I think, makes sense. I talked to a handful of families, and when you explain to them, they, perfectly understood. I think that'll be helpful for families, because it is a little atypical to be off the first 10 days of January. But I think it makes all the sense in the world. It's the right thing to do. And I've even had some people say that they may like that going forward, so this may be an opportunity after we go through this to visit, if that makes sense for families. Just some food for thought.
Thank you. Other questions or comments on the?
Yeah, one question, and I was just going through it. I think one question I had is the end of it's got our third quarter, fourth quarter, first quarter kind of marked out. It has our third quarter ending with 38 days of instruction. Our fourth quarter's at 52. And just wanted to, that might be something for us to look at. And I'm sure there's wisdom in all things that Mr. Nichols and Dr. Stewart have worked on, but maybe you can walk us through that in case folks are wondering why that fourth quarter is substantially longer than the third.
Absolutely. I think the goal is to try to get that to be as balanced as possible. And there are a couple of factors that weigh into that every year. Obviously, this year is construction. I think additionally, when we look at the breakup into quarters, the school that we have to really worry about the most is the high school, and the fact that we have students sometimes taking semester courses. In the world of primary, they're just moving along through every quarter anyhow. One of the things that we took into mind when we created the calendar is also thinking about the fourth quarter being the longest one, because there is some time missed instruction when the students are actively engaged in a lot of assessments. So there's the state tests that they have to take that are mandated for us. We also have a really high percentage of students who take the AP exams. So all in all, it's the most balanced that we could get it for this particular school year.
Okay, awesome. And then one other question was just the days that I think one of the values that I really appreciate about our district, Dr. Stewart, is the amount of professional development we engage in. I think many districts across the country don't engage in enough. And I think the feedback we hear from all of our teachers is how much they love that. The additional days that we're putting in January, and having those like the 8th, 9th, and 10th, is that just kind of reworking them? I know we are giving some up at the start of the school year, and so just, I think maybe sharing what the thought process is there. Again, I know that there's always good reason and rationale.
Yeah, happy to talk about it. I don't know that we will see a calendar that looks like this one. January 8th, 9th, and 10th is specifically addressing the fact that our students and faculty will be moving into a new school building. So we will not be asking our teachers to come in with their screwdrivers and set up classrooms. That's part of our contingency that we have with all of our partners. However, they do need to come in and set up their classrooms with all new furniture, and there will be things that we need to work out. The flow of traffic in the building and how we're going to navigate the use of common spaces. So this 3 days gives our district a chance to recalibrate, considering that we're going to have this beautiful new building, and it gives our teachers a chance to make sure it's set up for our students with the most success and thought.
Awesome. Makes a lot of sense.
I think the other consideration with that, Mr. Marks, is we want to take a unique period of time when we're moving in and opening that new building to celebrate it with students, staff, and the community. And we expect that there will be some ceremonial things going on as well while we're kind of working out the kinks. And when we weighed doing that before the holidays and after the holidays, it made more sense to do it now. But again, I think that calendar will change after this year. And we'll work on it with the staff.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea of being able to celebrate a little bit makes a lot of sense, especially not only the community, you know, having an opportunity to see what they've invested in. And then one other just thought might be, I know a lot of families plan things out. I've been through graduation a couple of years ago, got another one graduating this year, is as much as we can get details on the calendar as quick as possible around things like when graduation is, because with us going after Memorial Day, and I'm not sure how that'll work out, I'm sure Mr. Domadeo's got a great plan, but just as quickly as we could plug in some of those dates, because people start thinking through those things
And
way in advance with grandparents and so forth and so on.
After the anticipated approval of the calendar, those things will all go live immediately. And the graduation event, since you brought it up, Mr. Marks, is a really good point. On this calendar, actually, the faculty had given us some feedback. We didn't need to move the date of our traditional graduation. So it is a corresponding date, which is a good thing, I think, but we'll definitely push out this information this evening.
Great, thank you, and thanks for all the effort. I know that this is outside of the high school master schedule. It's the great rubric, and I know that, you know, our teachers have had contributions and things of that nature, so appreciate all the effort.
Speaking of graduation, did we clear the weather dates, Mr. Domadeo? So we don't have a really good track record on that, just throw that out there.
Randy Rico actually bets on that day right now, so I appreciate it. I don't know what's gonna happen, but we'll see what we can do.
And all of the principals and Jim and Melissa and Julie and Jen and the RIHEPO leaders have all put a lot of work into this calendar they do every year. We try to bring it to you by September every year. We expect it'll evolve and change again after we get through the project this year. And hopefully putting it out in October gives people plenty of time to plan ahead for next year. So that being said, we can come back to letter A. If there are no other questions or comments. Okay. Item B is approval of an overnight field trip for our Latin students in that program for the future. Letter C is our typical personnel actions, tuition reimbursements, professional meetings under numbers 1 through 4. And also on the addendum, you will see letter C2A that runs through letters JJ. And if there are no questions or concerns, I would ask the board to entertain number C, letters C through 4A, inclusive of the addendum C2JJ at this time.
So move.
I'll second that.
Mr. Summerall?
Yes.
Mr. Marks?
Yes.
Mrs. Eichholz?
Aye.
Mrs. Singh?
Aye.
Mr. Tullis?
Yes.
Thank you.
On to the treasurer's report. Mr. Davis.
For my treasurer's report this evening, I have the minutes of the September 20th, 22 regular board meeting, the financial reports for the month ending September 30th, 2022. We have one contract to approve, Best Point Education and Behavioral Health for student tuition, $194 a day. Item D is to approve the following construction contracts. There are 3 change orders with Skanska, one for the elementary school in the amount of $38,076, structural steel for bulletin number 2, one for the primary school, electrical update for bulletin number 3, $26,511, and finally, change order for GMP number 7 for the middle school, West Side Access Drive, $51,733.60.
I've got a couple questions on that. I
Yeah.
understand it. I've looked at all the attachments, but can you just give me a brief synopsis on each one of those? Why what the rationale is behind it, what we're doing?
Yeah, let me,
Yeah, if you just walk us through that.
so at the primary school, there are a number of different electrical panels that are there currently. And what the original plans called for, to redo those were to use the conduits that are currently existing there. When we actually opened them up, we discovered that they were insulated in a fabric, and there was no longer room to put any more wires, to put a ground wire through each of those conduits that led to the electrical panel. So we had to strip all of those conduits of the wires that were in there and then rerun new wiring through it.
Okay.
Okay? At the elementary school, this was a bulletin issued by our structural engineer, THP. After the design was completed, they determined that columns and additional miscellaneous steel needed to be added to the construction, and they also put more steel reinforcement into the gym slab. What we found out with this one is that typically, as the design process is going through, we usually find about 2 to 3% of our contingency is then committed to what we refer to as errors and omissions, things that are found out in the field as they're going through the project that weren't included in the design. Finally, at the middle school, there's an access drive that the original location of that conflicted with some electrical gear that needs to be put in out there. So the only way to correct that problem was to add to the length of that roadway. And what that meant is that we had to use more asphalt. There had to be some more storm drainage that went out there, and then also the grading that goes into creating that access road. So that's the additional labor with that. And then also, there are some memorial bricks that were taken out of the front of the high school here when we started the project. Those are going to be put back in front of the board office, so we needed to also put those into the change order as well.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Davis, I know that you've been very judicious around managing our owner's contingency, talking through that. Will you just provide for the public just a little bit of commentary around kind of where we are and how we're on pace with that?
Yeah,
And
let me-
share little details, because I think you've managed that along with Skanska and Holly and her team and everyone, but I think that would be good for folks to kind of know just kind of where we are and that we're on track with really watching that and managing that and observing that.
So I'm pulling up a handy dandy spreadsheet here, which I love to put together and I love to read. This one was created by Holly, so I appreciate that. So what it is we have basically 3 buckets out there right now that we're really managing. One is our owner contingency, which is sort of the money that we talked about, that errors and omissions, that things like that in the project will go to, that we have to make the decision on whether we want to use our owner's contingency to put those items into the project. There's also a construction manager contingency. That is a contingency that's managed by Skanska. Typically, what they'll do, those will be things that they have to they're responsible to put into the project. At the end of the day, Skanska is going to make some of that available to us. Per the contract, they were gracious in allowing us to keep some of that contingency money as well. So that's why we're keeping an eye on both of those contingency buckets. The third bucket we're also looking at is what we call allowances, and those are already built into the GMPs. But as we go through the GMPs, some of that allowance money doesn't always get used. So then that goes back into the project pot, for lack of a better word, as well. So there's 3 basically buckets we're looking at. Right now, on the contingency part of it, for our owner hard cost, we originally had just under $3 million in the original contingency for owner's hard cost. We're right under 2.3 million right now, so we're at about 78% left. And we're at about 80% of the project now that's completed. But we're not going to use all that contingency as we go through the project, because in the beginning or when you find all of those problems that you don't anticipate when the project starts. So we are in a very good place with our contingency. We have, within the contingency, there's 3 different buckets. There's an estimated, those are things that we know need to be done, that we need to get out to our subcontractors to vet through, get us some prices. There's a pending change in contingency, which means all of that work's been done. It then goes back to all of our partners, MSA, MCS, and Skanska, and then finally to us to make sure that all of those items within that change order look good. And then finally approve change in contingency, and that's when we go ahead and sign and say, these change orders look good, let's go ahead and sign them. So Right now, we are at about 2.3 million with all of those buckets left at about, like I said, 78%. We're doing really good in that category. We're starting to see some of our, as we work through the projects, some of those allowances are starting to, we're really getting a good idea of whether those are going to be needed in the project and getting a feel on how much of that will be coming back. So there's some opportunities there to sort of have some savings and sort of make sure that the things that need to get into the project are put into the project. And we really use these numbers a lot when we looked at that total borrowing number for that final number that we're working on right now. So,
Mick, you mentioned it briefly, and I think it might be helpful for folks who may be watching at home. Just briefly, if you could explain the process for approving the change orders, our owner's reps' involvement, your involvement. I think that's important for people to understand, so we're not just rubber stamping every last little change that comes out of the contractor's process.
correct. So what that process is Skanska originally in the field, they'll find, things that need to be done. There could also be opportunities for us to say, hey, we would like this added to the project. So those are chances to use contingency money as well. And then what they do is they'll put that into that estimated pot, knowing that, hey, this is a general estimation. We know we need this change order. Now it's time to go out and work with our vendors, being Skanska's vendors, to go ahead and put the dollar signs with that. Once they do that, it comes back then to our team, which consists of our owner's rep, which is MCS and Associates, our architect team, which is MSA, and then Skanska as well reviews those. And then once all three teams have reviewed it, it then comes to me for my review, and then I look at it and make sure everything's okay, make sure that's what we want in the project, and confirm that it's been vetted through the teams. Then it goes next into the opportunity for us to approve those. Thank you. Yep.
So a point of clarification, on the contingency, you said 3 million, and we've used 2.3.
Yep.
And that's for the owner's contingency and the construction manager's contingency, or just the first?
Good question. So the construction manager's contingency is actually a different pot. So the numbers I gave you were for our owner hard contingency.
Okay.
That construction manager contingency exists of originally just over $1 million, and it's now at $986,492. So we're doing a good job managing that one as well. We haven't had any unforeseen situations that Skanska needs to take care of. So we're at about 96% in that contingency bucket as well.
Mr. Davis, last thing,
Yeah.
from my perspective, I know one of the things that you do are very judicious about is we have the limited ability to invest funds that we're sitting on and to be able to earn interest in a very safe way. And I think the last report was year-to-date somewhere around 194,000 or something along that line. Will you just share with the public briefly the stewardship that we take with that money to earn some type of income off of it as it's waiting on the sidelines to be, encumbered and spent?
So your synopsis was dead on. We have very limited resources that we can invest in. Anything that we invest in must have a certain amount of liquidity. It must be backed by a bank or other ways to safely have the principal. We typically don't look at, we let everything go to its maturity date. So we're not looking at the market value of things. We simply look at the cost and then the interest that we'll earn at the end of the time. We're actually in a unique time period right now, excuse me, because of the way that the Fed has increased interest rates. We're actually getting very good returns compared to what we normally get. So for most of my career, we have seen, 0% to 25 basis point return on investments, whereas right now, we're actually Star Ohio, which is an overnight money market that a lot of the state government entities invest in, is near 3%. So we're doing very well there. We do have to be careful that we're managing that to make sure we're not making more interest than what our taxpayers are paying on their side. It's a lot of arbitrage rules that, but we do watch those things as well. But it is a good time for us as far as investments because we are getting a good return on those funds.
Last question on the allowances. Will we have anything that will come back that will be accretive for us for the bottom line, or is it still too early to tell as far as that third bucket?
Chris, you want to help with this one a little bit?
Yeah, as far as the allowances, just trying to get an understanding of just what we're dealing with, and if we're going to have some surplus there, that's going to be accretive to be a good guy back for us, for the district. Can you talk to that point?
Yeah, there are a few buckets where we're anticipating the cost or the expected cost to be less than the budget established, so that money could potentially go back to the district. Likewise, there's also a chance, as we're getting pricing in for some of these scopes of work, the price could exceed the allowance, at which point that would go against owner contingency. So on the whole, it should even out, but we'll see as we gather pricing for the remaining scopes.
Where do we stand today? Do you have an approximate number where we stand right this second?
Number of,
On the allowances, where we stand as far as?
would they happen to be on the spreadsheet, Mick?
So the spreadsheet has the original starting value of 2.75 million, and then total change in allowance is a reduction of 407,000 for 2.3 remaining allowance. So what that would mean is that those are allowances we have used to date,
Correct,
not any that we have gotten back.
correct, yes.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand all the allowances and where we are and all the contingencies, just so we can look at a global picture. Obviously, it's going to change next week or next month, but where we
Yeah.
sit today, I'm just trying to understand how we're progressing through the project.
Got it.
Thank you.
And some of the things we're keeping an eye on is especially our furniture, which, as you know, the cost of furniture is going through the roof, and we made sure we've ordered that, but we want to make sure, because that's an allowance, that we have, if we need to put more from a different allowance where we do have a savings, that can go to that, as well as both of our playgrounds at the elementary and primary school. We want to make sure those areas are very, nice for our students, because that's a very important place for them to be during the day.
So in the coming months, board members, of course, at our November meeting, there will be a 5-year forecast presentation by the treasurer, and then we'll also have presentations from the project team where they will dive back into some of this information and share with us interior updates and also design option for the middle school choir room, and we will look at the progress on the GMPs.
Thank you.
So if there are no further questions on that, then the final part of my treasurer's report is item E, the acceptance of donations. We had 2 this month. The IHPTO for the junior class for Junior Day, and the boosters for student government. The movie night homecoming, $3,500. As always, we appreciate those donations. It's with those wonderful gifts that we're able to provide a level that's above and beyond what we could hope to produce. So we're very excited to get those donations. And with that concludes my report. I would ask that you approve items A through E of the treasurer's report.
Move to approve items A through E of the treasurer's report.
Second.
Mr. Marks?
Yes.
Mrs. Eicholtz?
Aye.
Mrs. Singh?
Yes.
Mr. Summerall?
Yes.
Mr. Tullis?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Kirk, you want to go through the policy updates?
Yes, this is just a first reading, board members, so just, again, awareness, it is Neola policy update time, and items A through R, if you could review those in the coming month, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Most of this has to do with safety, health, and welfare, specific language that reflects current legislation or any changes in policy and guidelines suggested by legal. So please take a look at that, and we can talk if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other items, board members, administration?
Again, I just want to thank Mr. Damadeo. Again, while Julie's here, the faculty of the high school, I hope you can relay back to us on behalf of the board how proud of you we are and everything that's going on. And if any of you board members happen to know any community business partners looking for experienceship interns, it takes one partner for one student, and we're trying to personalize experiences here, and I think the team's doing an amazing job on that, so let's keep it growing. Thank you all for being here.
Yeah, I just want to celebrate the high school one more time. I noticed as we've been going through this whole board meeting, I see families rolling in because we've got our fall choir concert, and I just think about all the opportunities that we give to our students, and it's pretty darn awesome. So thank you, Mr. Damadeo. Thank you for your work, and just want to thank the rest of the cabinet and leadership team and all the work that you guys do day in and day out to provide great learning environment for our students and for our faculty and staff. So appreciate you all very much.
With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. We get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, thank you.
You're not alone, you allow yourself to go home.